This is Dr. Tom Prichard. Give me back my pro wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
For those who don't know, now you know, baby. This is Hot Rod Biggs, Jared, Jimmy Street. We're going to take them to the limit one more time, baby, right here on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome one more time to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, and it is me, your host, Jimmy Street. Hope you guys are doing awesome today, having a great day myself, and honestly, very excited about today's episode. Of course, if you've been paying attention or you looked at what you clicked on, of course, that means we have the one and only Dr. Tom Prichard on the show today, guys. That is right. Honestly, one of our favorite wrestlers of all time. Means so much to us. Smoky Mountain, Continental. I mean, just all kinds of great stuff that Dr. Tom did, and we're going to hear all about that and more today. I've been lucky enough to interview Tom twice before on the Live and in Color podcast, and honestly, had a great time every time we talked to him and learned a lot. I know today Quinton's got a bunch of great questions, so we're excited to get to that. But before we do, of course, Tom is here today because of our homie Captain's Corner, and he's going to be at the Portland Wrestling Expo 2 Saturday, February 21st at the Holiday Inn Portland Airport, 8439 Northeast Columbia Court, Portland, Oregon. And of course, if you've been paying attention, last episode we had the one and only Golden Boy Chick Donovan, and Chick was here to promote GrappleCon 4, Back to Lutz, another Captain's Corner event, and that's April 11th, Residence Inn, Tampa Suncoast Parkway, 2101 North Point Parkway, Lutz, Florida. Guys, first off, time is running out on Portland. If you're going to get out there and you're going to go, or if you're out there already and you're going to go, make sure you get your tickets lined up now and get your plans made. In a couple weeks, it's here. So just be prepared that very soon, Portland Wrestling Expo is going to be upon us. And you're not going to want to miss that. And then after that, of course, our listeners in Florida and the Southeast, of course, we can't forget the GrappleCon 4. And you'll hear more about that as time goes on. Anyway, like I said last week, we did have Golden Boy Chick Donovan on the show. And guys, I hope y'all enjoyed that nearly as much as we did. Honestly, great stories, pro wrestling, life lessons. The man is the oldest current pro wrestler still going today at 78, 79 years old. Chick's awesome. And man, we got the talking dog story too. So I don't know what y'all thought of that. I hope y'all enjoyed it. It was an entertaining episode to say the least. So anyway, thank you again, Chick, and thank you all for checking that one out as always. All right, y'all, that's all I got for the open today. Stick around. Sheik and Quinton are joining me on the other side. We'll be right back after these messages with the one and only Dr. Tom Prichard on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
Hey, my name is Tammy Reynolds. I am the wife of Forsaken Rick Reynolds, that super cool guy that everybody knows and loves. And I represent West Side Sauces. I make sauces, I bottle them, I seal them, I sell them. I have a hot honey sauce, I have a sweet sauce, I have a hot sauce, I have a white sauce that's so yummy you can use it on everything. They are absolutely amazing and I'm so proud of them. We make them from scratch. So go on our website, westsidesauces.com, check out our products, read about our story, and go online and order you some of these yummy sauces. And Rick actually uses all of the sauces because he is a die-hard smoker and griller, and so he likes really good sauces and rubs, and I make them, so how convenient is that for him? Go on our website, westsidesauces.com, order you some samples, and I think you'll thoroughly enjoy them. Thank you guys. Be blessed.
All right, we are back with another episode of the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. And guys, this is a Mount Rushmore for us. This is a guest that has meant so much to our fandom in pro wrestling that it's not even, you can't even list all the ways that this guy is important to us as pro wrestling fans. Welcome, the one and only Dr. Tom Prichard. Tom, welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you.
Yeah, great to have you.
Yeah, of course, we know you're here for Captain's Corner and the Portland Wrestling Expo 2. That's Saturday, February 21st at the Holiday Inn Portland Airport. Are you ready to be back in Portland, Tom?
I got to tell you, this when Nick told me about this, I was really excited because I haven't been in Portland since I wrestled there, and Portland was one of my favorite towns, one of my favorite places, favorite territories to wrestle in. And yeah, I really am looking forward to it.
That's awesome. I know they are all excited to see you and a ton of people out there. So we'll be talking more about this as we go along. The first question we always give to that guy called the Plastic Sheik. Take it away, Sheik.
All right, Tom. So this is a big question in podcasts and everything like that for wrestling. And if there's going to be guys that influence you, people you work with, anything, it can be anything. If you had a Mount Rushmore, 4 or 5 names in the business that you would have as your Mount Rushmore, who would those names be?
Well, I got to tell you, man, I had a different Mount Rushmore when I first started. Of course, I grew up watching the Funks and Johnny Valentine, Wahoo McDaniel, and Jose Lothario, guys like that. But in the modern era, in the last 30 years especially, I'd have to start with Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. I'd have to put Flair in there at least. And I'll have to go with John Cena with what he did just this last year and the longevity he had.
Yeah, absolutely. Great list. And I'm sure either list you would have given us would have been great. So that's no problem. But it's great to hear. What would you think growing up your list would have been?
Well, I think I would have put the Funks on there and Harley Race as well as Jack Briscoe.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Great list too.
Yeah. I mean, we grew up in different eras, and kind of changed over the years. So yeah.
Maybe we have a War Games match of those, all that in one, something like that.
I'm taking the childhood
Yeah.
Harley and the Funks and a Briscoe. Come on, man.
That's kind of hard to beat any era you go to, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, speaking of an era that's hard to beat, how did you get started working for Paul Bosch and what was your first official job?
Well, I actually started taking pictures for Gong magazine in Japan when I was 12 years old, and my older brother Ken got me a meeting with Paul Bosch, and they had sent me a press pass, and I showed it to him and told him I wanted to take some pictures of the Wahoo Briscoe match that was the main event that week, and he let me do it. And they published the pictures, and I was able to keep going down the ringside and take pictures and send them in, and they got published. And eventually, Gino Hernandez was about 2 years older than me, and he was hanging around the Coliseum too, and he was doing odd jobs for Paul, and included being a second and being the assistant director sitting next to Paul for TV on every Friday night. And when Gino started wrestling, Paul, I got to know him by then, and a few years went by, and I called up Paul one day and just said, look, if there's ever a chance to be a second or do some of this stuff that Gino did, I'd really like to do that. I'd like to have the opportunity. And so one week he said, are you ready to be a second next week? And I said, yes, sir, because one of the guys was going on vacation. And I got to go walk to the ring with the guys, take the jackets back to the locker room. They had me just put it in the hallway. Wasn't allowed in. But that turned into, showing up at the office one day, and my brother had just got me a job at Montgomery Ward selling shoes.
Oh.
And it was 2 weeks in, and I was telling the ladies at the ticket counter how awful a job it was. And Paul was walking out of his office, and he said, well, that job will probably give you stories to tell for a lifetime. How would you like to work here? And I thought, wow, just like that. How would you like to work here? So he just moved into a new office. My brother Bruce and I helped move from the old office, 2022 San Jacinto at the corner of Great and 1919 Caroline at the corner of Pierce. And that's after 20 years of hearing Paul Bosch say that forever. So, And that's how it started. He paid me $75 a week, work in the office, mow the grass around. He didn't have a whole lot of grass, but what was there, mowed. And then if somebody came to the office, I took him back to the airport or back to the hotel and did errands for Paul. And then Friday night came, and I would sit by him at ringside as the assistant director and give him commercial cues and be his communication from ringside to the truck. So that started when I was 15 years old. And I did that up until the time I started wrestling when I was 20.
Wow. What would you say? I mean, that may be it, actually. I don't think this question's even necessary, but if you had to pick, what would you say is the coolest thing you got to do? Would it be that?
Well, yeah, I think especially as a fan and knowing that this is what I wanted to do from day one. I mean, this is all I ever really wanted to do. And I think that was probably the coolest thing, being around Paul Bosch. His office was like a museum. It had pictures up and it had all kind of cool stuff around the office. And yeah, that was real cool up until I got in time with the business. And then a lot of cool stuff happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So during that time you was working for Paul, which one of the boys or several of the boys, who were the guys that treated you good during this time?
Well, Mark Lewin, he was going to the same gym I was going to. We just happened to run into each other one night. And he asked if I wanted to work out with him. He asked me because he wanted me to take him to the gym, he wanted me to come by and pick him up. So Mark was very good to me. Tiger Conway Jr. was a good guy. Chavo Guerrero, Manny Fernandez were there at the time. So yeah, those guys all played a part.
Yeah, that's cool.
So did you go from working in the office to getting trained? I mean, was there any time in between, or did you just go boom, boom, boom?
Well, what happened was, Paul knew I wanted to wrestle, and I always brought gym clothes with me just because that's what you did back then. And if you wanted to wrestle, you had to be prepared, and I just knew that. So I kept a pair of workout clothes in my car. And there was a football player in Houston who wanted to be a wrestler in the off season. So Gary Hart was the booker, and he would come in every Friday morning before the show and meet with Paul, go over the matches. And on this particular morning, the football player showed up, and Gary Hart had brought the Iron Sheik, who was Muhammad Farouk at that time. And it was my job to take those guys over to the Coliseum. And Paul told me he said, you can get in there with them too if you want. I thought, oh, that's all I needed to hear, man. So we went over to the Coliseum. They opened the doors for us. Finally, we walked in the dressing room, and I saw it was just one big room. And I thought, aha. So here I am. I'm getting on my K&H wrestling gear, my wrestling boots from K&H, my tights from K&H, and here's Cosro getting in his Olympic singlet and his amateur wrestling shoes. And I thought, oh, something's up here. And anyway, we walked out to the ring, and he had us do 100 squats first, and he had us do 100 push-ups, and then he wanted to see if we could wrestle, and he said, I'm going to get down, and you try to turn me over. And I couldn't turn him over. He was a good 240. He was in shape, and I'm like $160 and just a punk. He goes, "No, I do it to you." So he got down on my all fours, and next thing I know, he put me in something. To this day, I still don't know what it was, but he made me scream. He said, "Scream, scream," and I said, "Okay." He says, "Oh, louder, louder." So I screamed like a bitch in the San Houston Coliseum, in front of this football player. But he did the same thing to him. And that lasted like 3 weeks. And then the football player decided he didn't want to put up with that stuff too much longer because that's not what he saw on TV. And so Cosro came, I think, 2 more weeks after that. And then when he left the territory, I started training with Nick Kozak and Joe Mercer. They had a record service across town. And they had a ring there, and a bunch of guys. I didn't know they were outlaws. I didn't know what outlaws were. They were called outlaws instead of independents back then. And they would train at Nick Kozak's and Joe Mercer's record service. And I went over there and joined them. And I kept training while I was working in the office. Paul knew I was doing it. And eventually they booked a show for Ernie Shavers in Bryan, Texas, in 1979, October 20th, 1979. They put me in the first match, and that's how it started.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So then you show up in LA for the LaBelles. How did that come about?
Well, I was originally supposed to go to Oregon for Don Owen. That was my starting date. And my last night in Houston, Gary Hart came over to me and said, you're going to stop by Los Angeles before you go to Portland. I said, well, I was supposed to be in Portland on whatever date it was. And he goes, no, you're going to go to LA first and stay 2 weeks, then you go to Portland. Well, okay. So I was going to drive to Portland, but then I had to get a flight. So I flew to Fresno, and Chavo Guerrero was a booker. I thought they would take care of everything, communicate with Don and let him know what's going on. But I was there 2 weeks, and I said, well, I got to go to Portland. He goes, no, you're staying here. Are you sure? He goes, yeah, you're going to stay here. So little did I know, I was 20 years old. I was having the time of my life, so I thought everything was being taken care of. Plus, LA had a pipeline to Japan at that time because I'd seen guys come in and out and stop by in LA on their way home or on their way out to Japan. Mm-hmm. And it was leaning towards a match with Fujinami at that time, and I got the match in Los Angeles against Fujinami, and then that came a tour of Japan came out of that. Mm. So I stayed there for a year, and then I think I came back home.
Okay.
What memories do you have of Mike LaBelle?
Well, he was, I think, I don't want to say a typical promoter at that time because I didn't know all of them that well. I kind of judged everybody by Paul Bosch, and Paul Bosch was a straight up guy, and I think Mike was more of a flim flam man than not. And that's kind of what I thought. He was nice to me, but he just showed that carny side of him more so than not.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Well, so early in LA, you worked Great Goliath and Pampero Firpo. What do you remember about working those two legends?
Well, Goliath stretched the living hell out of me. He did not like me at all, man, because I was just this young punk coming up, and he resented being put in the ring with me. I think he just didn't like young guys. And Firpo was just the complete opposite. Nice man. He worked light, and I got along great with him. But Goliath was a different story. Yeah, he didn't care for working with me too much.
And for those listeners out there who don't know that, Pampero Firpo was a big influence on Macho Man, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
So. Oh yeah, that's where he got it from. El Gorfio. That was Firpo's thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So we just had Jules Strongbow for the second time a couple episodes ago, and he told us a very funny story that apparently, because you're very young, you've said that already, you were 20 years old, that you would get so nervous you would puke with matches. Is that true?
Yes, very true. And yeah, that's where I first met Jules, was in L.A., and then rode back with him and the Twin Devils from Fresno to Los Angeles. We stayed at the Milner Hotel. But yes, I would get so nervous, I'd puke. And one time I had Johnny Mantell. He was under a mask as the Hood, and I had him in a sleeper hold. And I tried so hard not to let it come up, but man, I puked all over his back and all over his mask. He was so pissed, rightfully so.
Yeah,
but I couldn't help it, man. Yeah, I was a nervous wreck.
I'm sorry, but
it is funny, man. It was terrible.
Yeah. He spoke very highly of you, though, as does everyone. So, to be honest, but we like Jules.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So you just mentioned a second ago, but what do you remember about that match with Fujinami in L.A.?
Well, I knew they gave tickets out, or there was a bigger house than usual because I think they wanted to make it look good for the Japanese TV. They had Japanese announcers over there, and people came in and they filmed it for Japan because I was going back in January of '81 to work a series of matches with Fujinami over there too. So he was a smooth worker, man. He was solid, wasn't stiff, but he was a good wrestler. He was a good worker. For that time, that era, it was more holds, and there wasn't as much high flying as there is today. But I enjoyed it. I thought Fujinami was a first class guy.
Very cool. Yeah.
So, what's your memories of working in that world famous Olympic Auditorium?
In the Olympic Auditorium?
Yeah. What's your memory?
I got to tell you. Yeah, it was a classic building. I don't know how long it'd been there, probably the 30s, for the Olympics, obviously. And it was a cool building when I first got there. you walked down some stairs, and the locker rooms were downstairs. You had a hallway to your right and a hallway to your left. Then little rooms that you went inside, and it had a classic feel to it. I went back, God, it's been maybe 20 years now, before they completely changed it into the church. And I talked to one of the guys and let me come in and just look around, and it was much smaller than I remembered, but it still had a feel to it. It was just had this classic, they called it the Madison Square Garden of the West Coast, and I thought that was real cool. But when I was there, business was way down. They had already, shot their load and weren't doing very good. But it was just, you could feel the history when you walked in. At least I could, and it was a cool vibe, and it really was a cool vibe. And I had a lot of fun there.
Very cool. Yeah.
So then, so you're tag team champions at one point with Al Madrill. What can you tell us about tagging with Al?
Well, I got to tell you, he was 10 years older than me, man. I was 20, he was 30. And I watched Al when I was in Texas, just working for Paul. He vaguely remembered me, but Al was, at that time, pretty harsh, man. I think, he was bitter, but I realized, that he had been through some stuff, too, in his life and his career that caused all that. But at the time, it was, Madrill just being an asshole. And have you ever met Al?
No, we haven't. Yeah, we're big fans of his work. Okay. But
well, I was too, and I thought, at a time there were times we did laugh, but most of the time he was just bitter and sarcastic and didn't want to dole out a lot of help or advice.
Gotcha.
But like I said, he was dealing with his issues and his journey too. And once I got to be 30 and I'd been in business for a little bit, I figured out, oh yeah, now a little idea now what he was talking about or not talking about, because we all have our own issues to deal with.
Yeah.
So in January of 81, you're in New Japan for Inoki for about a month. How did all that come about?
Well, because I've been wrestling in LA and they were still doing business with New Japan. Like I said, they booked a show over there, and I was a junior heavyweight, and I was a new face, new blood, and working with Fujinami in the Olympic Auditorium was cool, and that's what got me the tour in January.
Okay. Well, so then you head back to LA and you work the Davidson brothers a lot. Tell us about that team.
Well, that was when Tom Renesto came in as the booker then. Both those guys were from Texas and just big, rough, rugged guys. Rick was the more level-headed one. John was a little bit crazy. I mean, legitimate crazy. And, I had fun with those guys, but they were two big, rough guys who, I'm not sure they wanted to work, or they were working wherever they could work. And like I said, they came with Tom Renesto, but, good guys, decent workers. And, one night, we did a deal in Los Angeles before the TV tapings. I wrestled a match with nobody in the arena against Tom Renesto Jr. He wrestled as the Assassin.
Yeah.
And his dad wanted me to get a hard way at the end of this match with nobody in the arena, just the guys around the ring. And the reason they did that is because the TV station said you had to have action in the ring or you couldn't do a commercial. So they would come around and say that we had a feud. The Assassin and I had a feud going on, but we really didn't. We just got in the match. And they asked the guys, about what do you think about this big rivalry between Tom Prichard and the Assassin? Oh, plus you have a match this Friday night against so-and-so, and they'd talk about their match. Well, we were going to go 15 minutes, and they had the clock in the Olympic that would count down. So about 15 seconds to go, and Tom says, "You ready?" I said, "Sure." So he hit me in the eye, busted my eye wide open. I mean, he just was supposed to get a black eye, but he busted it wide open. It took 7 stitches, but we still had to do TV that night, and it's in about 3 hours. So my first match was against Rick Davidson, and they didn't want to show they didn't want to show my scar. They didn't want to show that I was busted open because this match that we just did was supposed to be airing live on Sunday, but it was going to be taped. So Rick goes out, and first thing he does is tears the band-aid off and hits me right in the eye again.
Oh.
So, yeah, we get blood right off the bat. I'm bleeding like a stuck pig. I mean, it looked better than not, but I mean, that's the kind of guy he was, man. He was going to take advantage of it, and I don't blame him.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, so May comes around and you end up leaving LA. Was it just time to move on? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just time to go. I mean, there was nothing else there. It was the writing that had been on the wall for a while, but yeah, I was ready to go.
Okay. Okay.
You're listening to Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Are you sick of the cold? Well, Captain's Corner is here to bring the heat for the start of 2026. The Portland Wrestling Expo returns to the Holiday Inn Portland Airport on Saturday, February 21st, featuring Hall of Famers such as The Godfather, Precious Paul Ellering, Ken Patera, international superstar Minoru Suzuki, and a reunion of stars from the Don Owens territory, including the Grappler, Dr. Tom Prichard, and Chief Jules Strongbow. This is the one event not to miss in the Pacific Northwest. Then on Saturday, April 11th, we'll be presenting the spring breakout event of the year. It's Glory Days GrappleCon 4, taking place at the Residence Inn Tampa Suncoast. We're excited to present Gimmick Mania, featuring Jerry the King Lawler, the Mountie Jacques Rougeau, the Godwins, Nikita Koloff, the Shockmaster, and over a dozen other superstars. Make sure to follow us on Captain's Corner on Facebook and Instagram for updates on both of these events and much more in 2026. Cheers to the working man.
All right, so tell us about your run you had in the Southwest.
Well, that was another time, when I came home and I started really working the roads and the territory in San Antonio. And that's where I got together with Manny Fernandez, Chavo Guerrero, and Tiger Conway Jr. They kind of took me under their wing. And I learned a lot from those guys, what to do and what not to do. But, it was a lot of fun, and it was a learning experience, man, going down the road, learning how to work and listen to people and just keeping your eyes open and your ears open and your mouth shut. And that's pretty much what I did. But I had a lot of fun there, man. It was great.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
All right. So after that, you around 82, I think it was, you show up in Georgia, and that TV is everywhere. It's hot in 82. So what do you remember about your time working in Georgia?
Well, it was a good time. It was an opportunity that I pretty much wish I would have grabbed onto. But that's where I met the Armstrongs, Tommy Rich, Johnny Rich, Paul Orndorff, Tito Santana. I rode with a few times. It was a learning experience. I just wish I would have taken better advantage of it. But that was a situation where I think I learned the biggest lesson is you have to understand what professional wrestling is. And at that time, I wasn't sure how to get my foot in the door. I was riding with Tommy Rich, Brad Armstrong, Johnny Rich, Nick Patrick.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was a great crew. It really was a great crew.
Wow.
But I always kind of kept to myself and never really pushed anything or nothing really came my way. So I looked at it as a great learning experience. So I learned a lot there, especially watching the Armstrongs and Brad Armstrong and Bullet Bob Armstrong were very influential.
Man, that's the good. Yep.
I remember when I was watching TV and I saw you on there. That was the first time I ever seen you before because I'm from Tennessee with it, and we only got the Jarrett's promotion. But we got the TBS. So I saw you on there, but you were doing commentary. How did that happen?
Well, I think Piper had got stabbed in the Carolinas, and he was doing commentary before. So Ronnie West suggested that I try commentary to Jim Barnett, and they put me on there. And that was another avenue that I'm glad I got the opportunity to explore and try. But I really wish I would have done wrestling.
Yeah.
Commentary's good, but it's harder than it looks. It really is.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right. So then after that, you went up to St. Louis, but you worked for Larry Madisick, who was running actually opposition against the NWA office up there. Tell us about that. And could you tell that it wasn't going to last long?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I went to St. Louis while I was wrestling in Tennessee. Actually, I was in Nashville, and I'd met Larry. Might have been in Houston. I met him somewhere prior to, and he got a hold of me. And I could tell he was trying to bring guys in from all over different territories and different places, but it just wasn't going to last because I think that's when Vince or Sam Mussick had just retired. I think Vince was going to run St. Louis, something along those lines. And you could tell that it just wasn't going to be sustainable. I mean, he was trying to bring in guys.
Yeah, Larry actually sold his TV time to Vince and went and worked for Vince for St. Louis.
Yeah. Well, it was during that time because the business was changing, and you could see the writing on the wall. I think, or a lot of people could, some couldn't, but a lot of people could see the writing on the wall. It was, it was a lot of different things happening at that time.
Now we're going on to Portland. In '84, you get about a year run in Portland. What can you tell us about Don Owen?
Don Owen was a great man. He reminded me a lot of Paul Bosch, just a straight up guy who would tell you the truth. And that was a rarity. But I really liked Don. I liked Barry. I liked Elton. It really was one of my favorite places to be and probably one of the most fun times I've had. Brett Sawyer, Mean Mike Miller, Buddy Rose, Rip Oliver. Yeah. It was, I met some really good people there and I had some pretty good matches. In fact, I worked with Flair in one of the spot shows when he came in to work the week with Billy Jack and whoever else he was going to work with. But it was just, again, being young in professional wrestling, just about 4 years, whatever it is. I was still learning and I was still able to have a good time and have fun. And in Oregon, the towns were close and we'd go to Seattle every week, or maybe it was 2 weeks. I don't remember now, but you had the Tuesday show sometimes and the Saturday shows at the Sportatorium. You could go back to the Bomber, hang out, or you could go out if you want. It was a great time to be in the business, and it was a great time to be in Oregon because you had guys like Rip, Matt Bourne, Billy Jack. I met Billy Jack there, but my God, he was something even back then.
That's what I was going to say. Was he something even back then?
Yeah, he was definitely something, man.
You mentioned Matt Bourne there, and I'm a big fan of his work. What he was able to do with making the Doink the Clown gimmick, in the '90s is such a iconic thing that it could have just been easily passed over and everything like that. But how iconic he made that, and he was a special talent that just I think he had demons, obviously, but he seemed to be an amazing talent in the business. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah.
Well, Matt did have demons, and Matt was a different kind of guy. So was Buzz Sawyer, and so was Hack Sawyer. I mean, and I got along with all those guys. I don't know why, but I know the history of Matt. I know Matt's reputation. In fact, I was in Japan with Matt too, and I have no problem with his work, and I thought he could be a very entertaining guy, but he was one of those guys that if he lit his fuse, it didn't take very long to go off.
Right.
And I've seen him, I've seen him in a couple of situations where he'd tell the guy, "You've got 3 seconds to get away from me," and he'd count to one and then punch the guy straight in the face.
Man.
And it was there were some episodes with Matt that you'd kind of go, I don't know if I want to do this all the time.
Yeah.
But he was a different guy, but once again, he grew up with his dad as a big star in Portland, and I knew the history of his dad too because he was a big star in Texas, long before my time. But Matt like a lot of us back then, had issues that were better well curbed than not. A lot of times, the boys were doing things back then that they don't do today, which is good. It's better for their health and better for their outcome,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. You brought up somebody earlier that means a lot to our listener base. A lot of our listener base is from the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area. Brett Sawyer. He's an acolyte of Roddy Piper, of course, but aren't all the great heels anyway? But what do you remember about Brett?
You're talking about Bart.
Yes, I'm sorry. Did I say Brett? I meant Bart. So
yes,
sorry.
you said Brett. Yeah, I teamed with Brett, but Bart, I met Bart a couple times. But he was just, again, and we all did, you're right. I don't know if there's anybody to pattern yourself after than Piper.
Great pick.
I get that.
Yeah.
I agree. And but he was trying to copy the best, and I've done the same thing. And but a nice guy, had a passion for the business, and I just think that once again, those were some treacherous waters some of us were treading in, and that kind of caught up to Brett too.
Yeah.
Or Bart, excuse me.
Yeah, sorry, I'm making you do it
Yeah,
now.
I'm sorry. See, you got me doing it.
Yeah, rest in peace, all the Sawyers. How about that? We'll just say that. So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So why did you end up leaving Portland after about a year?
Well, once again, it was just time, and I'd come home during Christmas in Houston, and Bill Dundee was booking. Houston was now using Mid-South. Bill Watts booking Louisiana, and they were bringing the crew to Texas. And I went home and saw some friends at Christmas time, and just told Bill, or asked Bill, if there's anything that ever comes up, I'd like to come back home. And so about a month later, he called me and says, you got some spots opening up, and asked if I'd like to come back. And I said, sure. So I stayed in Louisiana for, I don't know how many months, but Bill was leaving too, and he then brought me to Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. And so in 86, you show up in Continental, and now we loved Continental. We loved the Fullers. Anything the Fullers did, we love it. And you stay in Continental pretty much till the end. There's so much to talk about your time there. Is there something what is your favorite story about Continental?
Well, I broke my ankle in Tennessee, and we were in Louisville one night. Stan Lane came over and knocked me off the apron. I fell down and snapped my ankle, and I don't know it's broke, but I go back, and Sherry Martell is my manager with Pat Rose. We were the Heavenly Bodies back then.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I wrestle a week, and my ankle just gets more black, and finally it's turning black, completely black all the way up my calf. And Sherry came in the dressing room because I was just getting taped up every night, and she looked at it and says, "I'm coming to pick you up tomorrow to go to the hospital." Her roommate was a nurse. Anyway, couldn't find out I did have a broken ankle. They put me in a cast, and Sherry says, "You're coming over and live with me and Tina." So I went over, and Tina gave me like 5 sets of doctor pants. And just to wear when I was around the apartment, with my cast on and everything else. Anyway, finally, a friend of mine and my dad came and drove me home to Houston, and Brad Armstrong calls and asked if I want to go to Continental Wrestling in Pensacola.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I heal up and I go to Pensacola. And one night, I'm there about 6 months, I guess. And one night, Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden go out to the ring with this big guy, a friend of theirs, and they're going to do an angle with Tommy and Johnny Rich, and where they tape Tommy's feet to the ropes and just beat the hell out of Johnny, and they both get juice on the baby faces, and then they go up to the stage with Gordon Soley with their friend, and they say, from now on, we're going to have our cut man, Dr. Love, with us here at ringside to make sure nothing happens to our pretty faces. And here they are right on the screen. It's a great angle, and they close with a 3-shot. So it airs the next week, and come to find out, the guy that had it ringside was on the FBI's most wanted list.
Oh,
and Robert gets a call the next day after it airs and looking for this guy. So he told them that he left town, and he's just one of those guys that hung out in the back sometimes and were used for extra matches. So we're going to a town. Robert, Jimmy, and Jerry Stubbs and myself, and I'm wearing my doctor pants. And Robert's talking about the angle and what he could have done and what he's going to do. And so we stop at a store, get something to drink, and as we get out of the van, Robert finally looks at me and notices my doctor pants and says, well, hell, you could be our doctor. And I thought, well, that's pretty good. So that's how I became Dr. Tom Prichard, and that's one of my favorite things that happened there is Robert Fuller gave me the name Dr. Tom Prichard, and I stayed with that for a while, well, for the rest of my career anyway, and came down to ringside with Robert and Jimmy and got included in the main event angle.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah.
All because your pants. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The best names happen that way, though.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. You never know how it's going to work. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is another important one for us. So I've actually been able to work for Burt. I know Quinton has too. So you show up in Kansas for Burt Prentice, Sugar. Tell us how you ended up out there and what do you remember most about working for Burt?
Well, Burt called me, I think this was one of the times, it was in between something. And I was in Houston and called because he was starting up Kansas City, as he started up many places, or a couple places anyway. That's for sure. And I really hadn't worked for Burt at that time, but I came to Kansas City and I think for 2 tapings, and he taped for 2 sets of tapings. I don't know how many shows I forget how many shows he taped each session, but he had a big house on the golf course, and I don't know how many rooms he had, but all the boys had a room and stayed at the house and ate well and worked the shows. I mean, Burt was Burt, and if you know Burt, then you know Burt.
Right.
And and I never had an issue with Burt, but he's one of those guys that again believes in get the most out of everything you got, and he definitely did that. Yeah, definitely.
So 91, you show up back up in Memphis. So how did that come about?
I was at home again in between spots, and I was talking to Paul Bosch about a place to go, and Nick Bockwinkel had done some business in Memphis, and he made the call for me, and I came in, and shortly after I got there, Eric Embry took the book, and Jerry Lawler was off and doing his thing, but he eventually came back and worked with us. But it was Nick Bockwinkel who called and then came in, and I got to know Eric a little bit, and he put me on commentary in Dallas, and then we got to know each other, and he wanted to do the Texas versus Tennessee thing. So he was billing himself from Texas, even though he's from Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I said that on commentary. I think that's why he wanted me on his side.
No.
So better be inside the tent than outside the tent. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So, so that's kind of how that happened. And that was where I met Jeff Jarrett during that run. And Jeff was just coming up, and I thought, man, he's one of those guys that I just clicked with and got in there and had some really good matches with.
Yeah.
You got any stories about the famous bus rides from Nashville to Dallas?
Well, there was a couple famous bus rides from Nashville to Dallas. Which what are you referring to?
Well, the one we all got on the bus from out there in Madison and took it down there, because I heard Jamie Dundee told us a little bit about it.
Yeah, he told us a lot about it.
So, is there anything that stuck out with you on those bus rides?
Was I what?
Was there anything that really stuck out about those bus rides? Because Jamie had a lot to say about them.
Well, Jamie did, or Bill?
No, Jamie.
Jamie Dundee.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we did what the boys were doing back then. I mean, if we were smoking, we were smoking. If we were partying, we were partying, man. I mean, it was for the most part, the heels stayed up all night and and had a good time. And Tojo would bring some VHSs, and yeah. Did he tell you about the tapes?
No, I just can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, imagine, and I'm sure you can, because that was what I'm going. What are we watching? But But it was part of it back then, man. It was just part of the camaraderie back then, and the old timers from Memphis, Gypsy Joe, Dundee. Yeah. I knew Joe pretty good too, I guess. Yeah, he was something else.
Yeah, I knew Joe really good too. My chest did too, unfortunately.
Yeah, no doubt, man. But we had a good time on all those bus rides, man. It was awesome. The hard part was driving back, because most of us were worn out by that time, sleeping. Then you had to get up and get there. I guess we got to Memphis about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and had to go and do TV, and then drive back to Nashville that night. And I forgot how we got back to Nashville, man, because our cars were at the Kmart in Madison. And anyway, I forgot how we got back to Nashville, but we had to go to Nashville that night and work too. So it was a heavy loop. Wow.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with more Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling.
CHW is continuing the legacy of historic professional wrestling in Tennessee with monthly events at the Armory in Ashland City. CHW owner Mike Green has made it his mission to present the best pro wrestling shows in the Nashville area, and he has been delivering the goods. CHW Wrestling combines all the elements that Tennessee wrestling fans have come to expect. Action, suspense, athleticism, reality, stories, surprises, and excitement, all delivered by the finest professional wrestlers this state has to offer. Follow CHW Pro Wrestling on Facebook for the latest news, announcements, and show dates. And subscribe to Championship Productions on YouTube to see past events like the Ashland City Rumble and the Valentine's Massacre. Fun for the whole family with delicious and affordable concessions on site. Witness the action and excitement of CHW in Ashland City at the Armory. Family Wars, Love and Hate, Championship Gold. A CHW event is everything you're looking for in a night of live entertainment.
All right, this question, I've always wondered this. So in 92, Smoky Mountain starts up. Tell us how Cornette approached you with the idea of working for him and the idea of the Heavenly Bodies.
Well, Jimmy had just looked at Knoxville. He left WCW, and there was a time where I think WCW booked Knoxville, and he looked around and he saw the potential for a territory, because there were still wrestling fans here in Knoxville. I think there's still wrestling fans here in Knoxville. It's kind of a way back down. You know, they like the nostalgia, and still remember guys like Ron Wright and Whitey Caldwell.
Yes.
And Jim called me one time out of the blue in Nashville, and actually, let me take that back. Adrian Street told me that Jimmy had been looking for me, but I was on the road and in Continental. And this is when Dennis Condrey left the Midnight Express, and we were on like a 4-day loop where we'd be home. We didn't have cell phones back then, but somehow word got to Adrian Street that Jim Cornette had been trying to get a hold of me. And when I got back, I didn't have Jimmy's number back then. I don't think he had mine, so that could have been the problem. But they put Stan Lane in the spot that Dennis had. So Jimmy had told me later on that he was wanting me to take that spot, but WCW had bought Florida, and Stan was there doing nothing, so he just fit right in. So now he's wanting to start a new territory, and Bobby had already signed a contract with WCW, so he wasn't free to go, but he and Jimmy and Stan had left, and now he needs a partner for Stan, and he offered me the spot. So I thought that was very cool, because then I'd get a chance to work with guys who've been on the national scene on top and had these incredible matches with Rock and Roll Express, and that was our main opposition was Rock and Roll and the Fantastics, and of course any other babyface tag team that would come through later on.
Yeah.
But that's how that happened. Jim he needed a partner for Stan, and I'm grateful that he called me up and asked me.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like you and Stan work together?
Well, we worked rather great. I mean, Stan was a cool guy. Again, I'm one of those guys that's just kind of laid back and don't like a lot of waves in my life. So, you know, I mean, we gelled together well. Stan did his thing, I did mine, but in the ring it was great and got along in the back, and yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And what did you think when Stan ultimately left?
Well, I got it. I understood it because we were working maybe 3 days a week, 4 days a week at the most, and he was coming from the Carolinas, so he would have to drive to Knoxville like 200 miles. And then, you know, work the loop and then go back home. So we weren't getting rich. We weren't making a lot of money. It sure wasn't WCW money, but it was still opportunities in the business. And, you know, you still got to do what you loved. And Stan, at that time, he'd already pioneered 2 territories. So I think he was about done with it. And I understood his viewpoint of it. So, I mean, it was just business. It was just something that he decided he's just over it. He's not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, Stan's out, and then along comes a guy named Jimmy Del Rey, and he shows up.
Yep.
He is a totally different guy than Stan, as I'm sure you're about to tell us. How long did it take for you and Jimmy to really gel with one another?
Well, I got to tell you, he was a fantastic worker in the ring.
Yep.
Nice enough guy, but he and I were 2 different people. Outside the ring, you know what I mean? He just I guess he was just very passionate and very, you know, excited to have the spot.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just marched to his own beat, and so did I. But I was one of those guys who, if I walked into a place like a club or a restaurant, you know, I kind of like to scope things out and kind of get comfortable first. And he was the guy that came in guns blazing, lit. Hey, we're wrestlers. Hey, man, we just got done wrestling down here at the Coliseum. Yeah. Hey, what about you, baby? Hey. And then he'd get pissed off when they turned their back on him, you know? So we were just, it took me about one night out with him, and I said, yeah, I'm not going to be doing this anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Jimmy
I'm
and Jamie sound a lot alike.
Yeah. Well, they do.
So when you and Jimmy's first program was with the Armstrongs, what are your memories? I mean, I know you'd worked the Armstrongs. You knew them so well. What are your memories of working them with Jimmy for the first program?
Well, like I said, you know, Jimmy was a great worker in the ring. He could do fantastic stuff. And those matches were great because, again, working with any of the Armstrongs was a night off.
Yeah.
Working with rock and roll was a night off. But no, it was good business. It's just, you know, he was one of those guys who I don't know that he really had many other opportunities before this. And Kevin Sullivan's the guy who recommended him.
Okay.
So when he came in, you know, he had a missing tooth, you know, chain smoked, and everybody's looking at him like, who is this guy? What the hell did we get ourselves into? Then we go out and have the first match. And it goes great. It flows smooth. And Ricky comes back and says, "Man, I was wrong about you. I'm really happy that you're here." And we had great matches. So, you know, it was, whether it was the Armstrongs or anybody else. I mean, Jimmy knew his spot in the ring and knew where to be, and he could do great stuff. So, you know, that part I didn't have an issue with.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Got it.
All right. Let me say something real fast before I ask the question. I love that little dance he did.
Totally.
Right. Right. That was so obnoxious, but yet so great. It was good because he had the audacity to do it, and he did it with pride and passion, and by God, he was a gigolo. And he believed he was a gigolo.
Let me add something on then while we're talking about it, because you brought it up. So obviously you come from Stan, who does a very similar yet very smooth. I'm a happily married heterosexual man. I have no issues here, but Stan's got that smooth, almost stripper style about him, and then you've got Jimmy doing his thing where it's almost like it's funny, but it's also awesome.
Yeah. I mean, the difference was Stan was legitimately a stud and a ladies' man. Jimmy thought he was a stud and thought he was a ladies' man. You know what I mean? And he really believed that. So that was what made it so good, is because he was doing it with conviction, and it looked ridiculous, but at the same time, it was awesome.
Yeah, same confidence level. Let's just say that,
Yes, yes, 100%, 100%.
All right. So in December of '93, there was a riot in Wise, Virginia. Do you have any memories of that riot?
Well, no, that was with New Jack and those guys, right?
Yeah,
No.
It was the Harris brothers.
It was the Harris brothers.
No, the Harris brothers. Okay.
It was the one at the college. It was at the college.
Well, okay. Was I on that show? Because my dad had a heart attack at one time, and I was, when I was in Smoky Mountain, I came down, because we didn't think he was going to make it. And, that week is when it happened. I just heard, and they had a riot. I thought it was with New Jack and those guys, but I don't remember having one with the Bruise Brothers. I mean, we had matches with them, and those guys were awesome too, but yeah, I don't remember that riot. I thought it was a New Jack. Could have been those guys though, but I wasn't there for any riots. No.
Okay, because
I was there for a couple times when they closed in on us.
As I think about it, I remember had the Bruise Brothers' names was in it. Jimmy Del Rey's name was in it, and I thought it was yours. I could have been wrong though, but Cornette got into it, and it was a mess. And they basically told Cornette Smoky Mountain could never come back to Wise.
That sounds about right. Jimmy did some things one night. We were in can't remember the town, but it was a big high school gym. And we just screwed rock and roll, and we're getting out of the ring. It's a hot finish, and cops are around us, but they're closing in and they're pushing cops. And Jimmy hauls off and lays up in this guy with his tennis racket, his older guy, because he thought he laid him open. So he comes back in the locker room and he goes back to the showers and hits himself in the knee, or hits himself in the shin with his tennis racket. To show the cops, he said, when the cops came back to question him, he said, well, the guy kicked me. I had to defend myself. And he showed them bruise. So, yeah, we had some harrowing times, but I don't remember a riot. I remember they tried to incite a riot, but I don't think it got full scale.
Yeah, you must have been there, because it was, like they said, there was the local cops called in three other
counties.
Counties around it came too. It was so wow. You would remember that. So you must have been there.
I'd remember that if I was there. Yeah,
most definitely. All right, so you weren't there on that one, but tell us about the famous fight you and Tracy Smothers had.
Well, Tracy was an excitable boy. I love Tracy to death, and again, if you know Tracy, then you know Tracy. You just got to accept that. But we started out, and that was me shooting my mouth off because we'd done some shots for WWF at that time, and we'd just come back from Survivor Series against the Rock and Roll on Thanksgiving. And we got back. We had a show. It might have been Thanksgiving Day. Hell, I don't remember now, but it was right after Survivor Series, around Thanksgiving. And we're going to town, and Jimmy and I are riding with Robert and Ricky, and we're talking. And Tracy had been potatoing people and just being reckless, I thought, and being Tracy and being a little overzealous. And he was in a bad mood. He thought we were going to WWF and everybody else was going to get left behind, and that wasn't the case. We were trying to get everybody there. We were trying to get as many people as Smoky Mountain could send, and Smoky Mountain was going to be the developmental system. Mm-hmm. But I told Ricky and Robert and Jimmy, of course, I said, Tracy is a freaking idiot, and you can quote me. Well, as soon as we got to the building, Ricky couldn't help but go tell Tracy that I told him he's a freaking idiot. And so there was no locker safe. Tracy punching in every locker you saw. And we were in different dressing rooms that night too. So, but we had a battle royal that night. And Tracy had his match against Brian Lee, and I'm out there watching. He's pointing at me, and he's making gestures, and the match is terrible, and all this stuff. So then we get Brian and Jimmy get to the back, and Cornette says, "What was that all about?" And Brian says, "I don't know. He's mad about something." And so I told him, he's mad at me because I called him a friggin' idiot, and I told Ricky, and I'm sure Ricky told him. So we rode there with the rock and roll. So I'm catching a ride back with Brian, and Jimmy's catching a ride back with somebody else. And so we're going down the road, and we see Ricky and Robert and Tracy pulled over on the side of the road and taking a leak. And I tell Brian, "Pull over, man. I want to talk to him." He goes, No, just leave it alone. So we go on, and then we see Ricky and Robert and Tracy pass us. I said, "Brian, please blink your lights, pull him over, because I got to talk to him. I got to get this straight, because I was supposed to work an angle with Tracy and White Boy. We're going into a new angle and the whole program and everything. So I got to get this straight before we do it, because I don't want to get in the ring with this guy if he's going to be crazy." So we pulled him over, and Tracy had hurt his ankle that night. And so I get out, and Tracy sees me get out, and he's in the back seat, and he's trying to put the seat up, and he's going to kill me. So he gets out, and he looks at me, and he comes, and he's pointing, and he's talking. He says, "You bitch, I'm going to beat your ass." He starts doing his jabs and everything. So I said, "Tracy, what's the problem, man?" He says, "You're an asshole, man. You're an asshole." I said, "Well, okay, but I called you a friggin' idiot. I did do that. I'm not going to. I'll apologize for it, but I did. I'm not going to say I didn't say it." So about this time, a cop pulls over and asks us what we're doing. And Ricky told them, he says, we're professional wrestlers. Just came from a town. We wanted to work on some spots on the side of the road, because you don't do that in my county. You got 15 seconds to get out of here. So as he leaves, Tracy and I turn, and we like go at each other. It's like a lockup. Like one guy doesn't want to, and the other guy's glad of it. And I was the one glad of it. I don't know if Tracy wanted to or not, but he could have killed me if he wanted to that night. But it was like we were locking up, and I thought, he doesn't want to fight. And the next day I got there early because we had to do promos, and I waited for him in the babyface locker room to say, "Hey, man, I'm sorry." And he came in and said, "I love you," and all that stuff. So we made up, but it was just stupid stuff because everybody was on edge and not sure what was going on. And they thought Cornette was doing the deal behind their back. And it just, it was a little messy at times, but Tracy was just, could be Tracy.
Yeah.
Love him to death, man. He just sometimes got a little emotional and hot-headed, and he'd kill a locker if he had to.
Rest in peace, Trey. And he just lost his son too. I just read. That's so sad. Yeah, very sad.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Rest in peace to the Smothers guys.
All right. So, what were your memories of that last Smoky Mountain show they had in Cookeville, Tennessee?
Well, it was bittersweet, obviously, but we were, I think at that time, we were going to go to WWE after a Japan trip in January, I think it was. So I knew what we were doing after that. It was sad to see, because I'd grown to like Knoxville. I'd grown to like the crew and being around stuff, but change is inevitable. And it was just part of the business. It was sad, but it was just part of the evolution of what was going on at that time. Just that was not the time in the early 90s to just try and start up and pioneer a new promotion.
Did the guys actually know that was going to be the last show? Because I was actually there, and Tracy told me and the photographer to come up. So we came up, and we were actually selling that stage the whole night. And so did y'all? I heard different things. I heard that you already knew there was the last show. Then I heard he told you at the very end it was the last show. So what did you know about it?
Yeah, no, we didn't know till we got there. I mean, I didn't know till we got there. So obviously Cornette knew, but we did it. And then I think in the Battle Royal, we kind of all jumped Jimmy, right?
Yeah, at the very end, y'all left him laying at the very end.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tom, have you ever seen footage on YouTube of this show floating around?
No, I have not.
Well, it's out there, and tell them why, Quinton.
Actually, we almost didn't get to film it. Like Tracy invited me, the photographer Steve Bryant, and a guy named Randall Fanning. Steve took pictures, Randall taped it. So Tracy in Shelbyville, Tennessee, the week before, told us to come up. So we came up, and we got to the door, and Sandy Scott was at the door, and we told him, "Hey, we need to see Tracy," and so he wasn't gonna let us in. And we kept saying, Tracy told us to come up. So finally Tracy got there, and he's like, "Yeah, let him in, let him in." And right before we started to go in, Sandy looked at Randall Fanning and goes, "You can't record that." He's like, "I can." He said, "Did Jim Cornette tell you could bring it?" He said, "He didn't say I couldn't." He said, "Okay." So it almost because and we set up on the stage, and he taped that show, and it almost didn't get taped. So there would have been never a video of the last Smoky Mountain show if it went for Randall Fanning. And he didn't let that out for, I want to say, 10 years. He kept it under lock and key and would not let it out. Now it's all over the internet. He finally sold it and sold, but yeah, he's kept it. I want to, because I tried to get it from him forever, because I was in the tape trade real big at the time, and he wouldn't come off from it. But yeah, if Tracy would have never invited us up there that night, it would have never got taped. So it would have been no footage of the last Smoky Mountain show.
Yeah, that's history. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's why I wanted him to tell you that. We love Smoky Mountain. This is one of our favorite promotions ever. And you were such a huge part of that. We honestly, Tom, we can't thank you enough for coming on and spending time with us and telling us your story. We have one final question, and that one always goes to the Sheik. So take it away.
So if you look back on your career, your great career, you wrestled everywhere, and you had to say that was the favorite match I was ever a part of, what would that match be?
Well, I got to tell you, I can't just pick one, but some of my favorite opponents were Brian Armstrong and Dirty White Boy and Jeff Jarrett.
Oh,
and I had some really good matches with Jarrett. I had some good matches with White Boy and Brian Armstrong again. Just all those guys I had chemistry with. So honest to goodness, I can't just pick one, but the hanging incident in Continental was one of my favorite angles to do, I thought.
Oh yeah. Legendary for sure. Yeah. We love that. I need to talk to Tom. What is it? She says, I need to speak to Tom.
Yeah.
Dirty White Girl. Yeah. Classic.
Yeah.
Well, so Tom, once again, one more time, Captain's Corner, the Portland Wrestling Expo 2, Saturday, February 21st, Holiday Inn, Portland Airport, 8439 Northeast Columbia Court, Portland, Oregon. So many stars: Paul Ellering, Ken Patera, the Grappler Lynn Denton, Dr. Tom Prichard, the Godfather, Dave Sullivan, Joey Jackson. It's going to be a blast. I know you're going to have a good time up there, right, Tom?
I'm looking forward to seeing all those guys, man. It was a fun time, and I'm looking forward to reliving some of those memories.
Yeah, well, tell us all about it, and I hope you make a ton of money up there, brother. Thank you again so much for coming on and talking to us and sharing your story with us, brother. Thank you.
Anytime. I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate you.
It's an honor, dude.
Thanks, man.
All right, that was the one and only Dr. Tom Prichard. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling after these messages.
Relive the glory days of Memphis wrestling with the Retro Wrestling Review USWA podcast. Each week, we go back in time to review USWA Championship Wrestling from the 1990s, episode by episode. Join us for watch-alongs, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive interviews with people who were there and lived it. Whether you grew up watching it or you're discovering it for the first time, this podcast is your ringside seat to Memphis wrestling history. It's all a part of the WrestleCopia Podcast Network. Listen now at USWApodcast.com.
Hi, this is Mike Needham, host of the Reckless Abandon Podcast with Mike Needham. We invite you to jump on your favorite podcast platform and search for the Reckless Abandon Podcast and give us a listen. I'm sometimes joined by a part-time podcaster, part-time co-host, and full-time wife, Tiffany Nicole. We talk wrestling, we talk pop culture, we talk local events, local happenings in West Tennessee, and a ton of other stuff. But be sure to check out the Reckless Abandon podcast. Find us on Facebook. Also, look up the Microgroup Podcasting family on Facebook and see some of our other podcasts we have out there. Until next time, make good choices and always remember, no dollar, no dice.
All right, we are back with more of the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast, and man, Dr. Tom never lets us down. What an incredible guest he is. Some of the stories that stick out to me, of course, was that Continental story, which, you know, had the FBI's most wanted list guy, and then, of course, it leads to the Dr. Tom name. Man, what a cool story. Just a great guy. Tom, like I said, Tom never lets us down with stories, and so entertaining. Thank you so much, Tom. And once again, he was here because of Captain's Corner and the very soon and upcoming Portland Wrestling Expo 2, Saturday, February 21st at the Holiday Inn, Portland Airport, 8439 Northeast Columbia Court. Once again, if you're going to be there, you might as well plan to be at GrappleCon 4 back to Lutz. And that one is April 11th, Residence Inn, Tampa Suncoast Parkway, 2101 North Point Parkway, Lutz, Florida. Those are two incredible events coming up with Nick and Captain's Corner, so y'all go check that out. Tons of stars, tons of fun. Be there or be square. And tell them, Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling sent you. Guys, next I want to say something really quick. I want to give props to my guys. I've been doing this a lot lately, but I don't like it to go unnoticed. Of course, Sheik with the shorts and Quinton with his questions and his show, This Month in Wrestling History with Quinton Quarisma. And honestly, guys, I really feel like both those guys are coming into their own as hosts as well. Y'all give them some props when you can. If you hear them, talk to them, see them, let them know that you enjoy their work, and thank them for what they do for me. Anyway, thanks, guys. Thanks, Sheik. Thanks, Q. Y'all are awesome. All right, one more thing, guys. Keep our buddy and former guest to the show, Ben Jordan, in your continued prayers. Got some interesting news from the doctor the other day. Just continue to pray for Ben. I know he appreciates it, and means a lot to us that you would do that. He's a great guy. We greatly appreciate his friendship. One more thing, guys, before we go. Next episode, of course, is This Month in Wrestling History with Quinton Quarisma, episode 8, and he will be covering the month of February. So y'all check that out. Quinton always puts a lot of time and effort into his show, and we definitely appreciate that. Can't wait to hear what he's got up his sleeve for February. Don't forget, you can find out all the news that is the news on at GMBMPW on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X. Guys, thank you all for liking, sharing, supporting, following, all that. But most importantly, we just thank you for listening. You guys are the best for that. Thank you all. Things are growing so much over here. We greatly appreciate all the new listeners and the old ones. Y'all are the best. Thank you all. And most importantly, I want to welcome all the new Facebook followers to the Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling podcast. Hope y'all are enjoying it. Y'all stick around. We got some cool things coming up. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. So for Dr. Tom Prichard, the Plastic Sheik Jared Street, the Territory Wrestling Guru Quinton Quarisma, and myself, this has been Give Me Back My Pro Wrestling. We'll see y'all next time.
Don't forget.
Good to see this man back in the crow's nest. Welcome home, Tommy Prichard.
Oh, thank you very much, Don. I just want to wish everybody here and everybody out there a very, very happy New Year. It's good to be back. You know, I had the chance to go home, Don, for about 3 weeks, see my family and friends, but, you know, there's nothing like coming back to the great Pacific Northwest. I know why they call it God's country now. And, you know, 1984 was a great year for me up here in Portland, Oregon, and all over the Pacific Northwest. And I just want to say this, that a lot of things happened to me this year. Hack Sawyer came back. We made a dynamic tag team. We won the Pacific Northwest belts. Jerry Gray and myself went a tag team, and we kept those Northwest belts for a long time. But 1985, I'm looking for a lot of single matches this time, whether it's for that Pacific Northwest Championship. Bobby Jaggers, you're a good friend of mine. You're a tremendous wrestler. But, you know, that's one thing that did elude me when I was here last time. This year, 1984, I didn't get that Pacific Northwest singles belt around my waist. 1985 is going to be a little bit different, I hope, Don, because you got a Cuban assassin here. You got some old faces, Kendo Nagasaki, Ed Wiskowski. I don't know what you're doing back with your clan or whatever you're trying to do. Mike Miller and Mr. Ebony, you're still back in town. Well, I'm back in town, and I'm looking for all the competition here. It's 1985, a new start. and I'm looking to start it brand new with everybody here. And once again, Happy New Year, and thanks for having me back, Don.
Hey, thank you, partner. All right. Tommy Prichard, great to have him back.
With a tear in my eye, this is the greatest moment in my life.
We'll see you next week. And until then, so long for now.
This has been a James Rock Street production.